advice here. Going to talk about guys that you should be starting or sitting based on your particular team. And of course, ask away as many questions as possible. We're here to help everybody. So let me just start before we do anything by apologizing, guys. Just going to warn you up front. We're not going to get to everyone's question. We're just not, because we just don't have time. We'd love to help everybody. That's our goal, of course, as we say all the time. That's our end game. We want to help you win, but we've gotten so many questions. We appreciate the community is growing each and every week. Love to see that. Unfortunately, not everybody's question really will get in there. We try to do as much as we can. There's an easy way, though, to avoid that, having your question not answered. So the best way is to become a supporter on Patreon. So there's information in the description, or if you go to any of our videos, literally any of them, there's information on how to do that. Become a patron, because tomorrow morning on Sunday, every Sunday morning, for the exact same length of time, we have a private show for our supporters, and we will get to every single question you have. Had a nice chat last week with some of our first supporters. We appreciate it, and answered several questions for each one of them. And even talking ahead as far as like which defense to stream in week 6 and 7. I mean, trade talk, waivers, anything you want, and you have that undivided attention from us. So consider doing that, becoming a patron. You can also use the super chat feature, but again, for the price of maybe 1 or 2 super chats, you could become a patron and get not only that private show, but even more perks like weekly rankings, rest of season rankings, dynasty rankings, a lot more. If you go upper level, and get some free swag like shirts. So anyway, check that out when you get a chance. All right, now week 5. We got some injuries, Chris. Unfortunately, they're starting to kind of pile up, and some big names look like they're going to be on the shelf. So let's get to it. George Kittle, probably heard, been battling that calf issue, was limited last week, and now not only going to miss this week, but he is now on IR, so going to miss a few weeks if you include the bye for the 49ers. You're going to be without George Kittle for a little while, so fire up that Ross Dwelly that you don't have. This is good, Chris. I'm just gonna, break out the crystal ball and just say I think we're gonna have a lot of not just Trey Lance, but we're gonna have a lot of Brandon Ayuk questions. Do you see that coming this week?
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk. I'm gonna say Brandon Ayuk. I'm gonna guess we're gonna get a lot of tight end questions now with Kittle out and Gronk out, and I'm gonna predict
Thomas out.
Damian Williams questions.
Oh. We won't go last week. We couldn't go more than one question without hearing Allen Robinson. I'm pretty sure this week it'll be Damian Williams. It's going to be Bear Crazy again. And that's fine. We'll do our best to answer those questions. Yeah, so many tight ends. Logan Thomas also on the shelf, of course. So George Kittle is the big name here. There's a lot of guys that are questionable, so keep in mind their status. So, of course, CMC, Christian McCaffrey, they gave us some false hope thinking he might play this week, and that looked like it was just a ruse all along. He's doubtful. I don't think he's been officially ruled out, but, when you get that doubtful tag, it's almost never does somebody play, and even if they did play, probably not worth playing. So Christian McCaffrey, be prepared to be without him. Joe Mixon, it looks like will play, but how much? The latest we're hearing, first it was week to week. We didn't know if he was going to miss, thought he was going to miss. Now they're saying he will play in some capacity. That's not very reassuring. Chris, I don't feel really good about having Joe Mixon in my lineup just because he's going to see the field. When they say in some capacity, it makes it sound like it's for sure going to be limited.
Yeah, and I think his injury is very similar to the one Dalvin Cook is dealing with. And we saw Dalvin Cook last week. When he played, he only played 52% of the snaps, which is very, very low for Dalvin Cook. I would think something similar for Mixon, maybe even lower for Mixon, because, Dalvin Cook did at least take a week off. So I really cannot put Joe Mixon in my lineups this week. No way. Not that I have Joe Mixon in any of my season-long leagues, but if I did, it would not be in my lineups.
Yeah, and that, it's almost worse because if he was ruled out, you could say, well, maybe you can put in P. Ryan or, you really feel good about any Bengal running back, but I don't think you can start anybody there. Dalvin Cook is questionable, so game time decision, I can't feel really good about putting him or Madison in unless Cook is ruled out. So you're definitely going to have to watch that real closely. We'll do our best to figure out what to do in that situation. Depends who else you have. Some other guys who are questionable, Courtland Sutton, Devontae Parker, a lot of receivers that are kind of on that in between state. So Julio Jones also out again. Who else am I missing? I think those are the major names.
Yeah, we get them all. Gronk's out.
Gronk, of course, is still out.
Yeah.
Basically, just you said it on Twitter today, Chris. Why do you still even have tight ends in your fantasy league?
Exactly. There's no need for tight end to be a required start. Just make it a flex. If somebody has Kelsey or they have Darren Waller and they want to play him, great. But it sucks for the people who drafted Kittle and now they have to go to the wire and grab whatever they're going to grab from the wire, maybe like an Evan Ingram or maybe a Cameron Brate, somebody like that, and now they're being punished when they probably have somebody on their bench who's significantly better than those guys, but they can't play him because they have to play a tight end. So one day I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen where tight end is not a required start, but one day.
We've done that. We do have a league like that where it's just flex only, but every league should be that way. I agree. All right, so enough talk. Let's get into the questions. I know they're already piling up, so we'll do our best to answer them. Again, we'll try to give our thought process explanation behind each decision we make. We're not going to agree all the time. That's just how it is, but we'll do our best to give you our thought process. And then, of course, everyone looks forward to the end, the lightning round, where we just try to answer as many questions as possible so that we help everybody. But let's go ahead and start firing them up, Chris.
All right. Well, we have 2 super chats, both from Byzinski. And Byzinski, appreciate it. You gave us some super chat questions last week as well. But like Pierre said, so you did $2.99 super chats. That's $4 for $4.99. For 99 cents more, you could join our Patreon and you could join us every Sunday morning for an entire month. So your 2 super chats could pay for an entire month and you could guarantee your questions to get answered. So we do appreciate the super chat. And we do appreciate you being here every Saturday night because keep seeing you. But if you want to save a little money, you'll be better off doing the Patreon. But let's get to his questions. So he's asking, is Chase not mixing? Okay, so sorry, he asked 2 questions. I think he messed it up. Okay, so DeAndre Swift for Jamar Chase in PPR. I guess we'll just say, which side do you prefer? I don't know which side he has. It's hard to tell from his question, but we'll just talk about which side we prefer, and then he can make his decision from that.
DeAndre Swift or Jamar Chase. I'm not a huge Swift super fan, not because of him personally, just the situation. In 2 separate articles this week, I talked about him as a sell high kind of candidate. So I'm not loving it. Look, he's been battling the groin injury all year. He's still listed as questionable again. We saw that he's not matchup proof, and we thought he was going to smash last week. He did nothing, literally nothing for you in fantasy. The matchup's not bad this week, but it's just hard for me to trust him when you have a guy like Chase with huge upside. We know the Bengals without Mixon probably, or barely Mixon, whatever it is, they're going to have to pass, I think, to keep up with the Packers. So I like Chase, definitely a bigger chance for a big game.
This was a trade question.
Yeah. Oh, it's a trade question. Oh, there you go. We're on the right foot.
So basically,
I'm going to go with Chase long-term too. This is a lot of the same reasons. I have Swift as a guy to sell, and I have a guy, like Chase. I think he's just going to get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, I will say this is close for me. I'm not a huge Swift guy either. You guys, if you watched our videos all off season, I was down on Swift. And Chase has been good to start the year, but I feel like his efficiency can't stay like this. I mean, he's not getting 8, 9, 10 targets a week. He's getting, 5 or 6 targets a week. He just has a big play every week. But I do worry about Swift. He's only getting 8 to 10 carries. He needs those, 5, 6, 7 reception games, which he can do. So I think I probably lean slightly Jamar Chase here, but not really super high on either of them, to be honest. But I guess for me, it would really come down to what I needed. If I had good wide receiver depth and needed a running back, I would take Swift. If I had good running back depth, which not a lot of people do, and I needed a wide receiver, I would take Chase. So to me, it's pretty fair. I think it would more come down to team needs for me personally. So, all right. So Michael Dobbs, what's up? Remember, Michael was here all last season. He said, I was here last year when you made the channel at 800. Actually, we made the channel at 0. We hit 1,000 on the final week of the season. That was pretty exciting. Now we're at 5K. Your channel's booming. Yes, we're very appreciative. to all of you, very grateful. Roberto, what's up, my spicy dudes? What's up, Roberto? Roberto did a ton of mock drafts with us all off season. You guys should look for that this off season. All right, so here we go. New life. Your thoughts on Josh Gordon? Oh, we did an entire video on this. You should go check it out on our channel. We published it yesterday.
Easy. You watch the video, you'll hear all our thoughts for about 10 minutes.
Exactly. Have PPR, Hollywood Brown, or Antonio Brown?
Now that's interesting because Marquise Brown been on fire. It's hard to imagine that the Ravens will keep doing what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're passing the ball, right? This isn't just run, run, run. Lamar Jackson is winning with his arm, passing the ball quite a bit. Marquise Brown is getting open consistently. So it's hard to kind of bet against him. Antonio Brown, it looks like a very good matchup for him because the Dolphins still kind of reeling. It's just hard with those three receivers to know who's going to kind of boom and bust. The one thing I worry about with Antonio Brown is it might not be a high scoring game because the Dolphins just are going to score a lot of points. And so Tampa Bay might not need to throw it that much, so I kind of feel like Marquise has the higher ceiling here. We've always said he's just boom bust. I mean, he hasn't busted yet. So I'm going to lean towards Marquise Brown this week.
Yeah, this is definitely Marquise Brown for me. I'm coming around on Marquise Brown as pretty much in every week. Must start again. You go back, what was it, 2 weeks ago where he dropped, 3 passes. He would have had another huge game. And the problem with Antonio Brown, we saw this last week against Patriots, is Mike Evans is the 1. Chris Godwin is the 2. And there's just not a lot left over for Antonio Brown. Now, sure, he could have caught one of those final 2 passes and made your fantasy day, but without those, he just doesn't have, a nice floor to go with a huge ceiling. So I would take Marquise Brown, who looks like he has a nice floor this year, plus the higher ceiling. So I agree, Marquise Brown. Then we have another Marquise Brown question, a super chat from Easy Money Sicilian. Appreciate it. Little known fact, my dad's side is from Sicily. I don't know if you're Sicilian as well, but awesome if you are. Another Hollywood Brown question, Hollywood Brown or Marvin Jones Jr. with no DJ Chark playing against the mighty Titans, but not so much.
Yeah, the Titans are looking pretty small in the secondary, giving up the most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. So I got to go with Jones, even though Brown, all good things to say about him, but you've got to like the opportunity for a smash game here. So I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. I like Laviska Shenault a little better, honestly, between the two, especially now that I just traded for him. But yeah, I'm going to go with Jones.
Who did you get Laviska Shenault from? I wonder.
I don't
know. I still got to go with Hollywood. I do love Marvin Jones this week. I'm starting him where I have him. But again, I just think Hollywood just has that massive ceiling. And again, I think this year it looks like he has a nice floor. And I don't know if Bateman is officially active or not. I think he might be, but I'm not too worried about it. I don't think he's going to come back, after missing 4 weeks and play a huge percentage of the snaps. So I still think Marquise Brown will be the one there. I know it is a great matchup in Jacksonville. And I do like Marvin Jones a lot. And I think probably when it comes down to it, you're going to be like, oh, I would have been okay whoever I started here. But again, I got to lean a little bit towards Hollywood. I think both players have a super high floor, but I think Hollywood has just a little bit higher ceiling. Just because that Jacksonville offense, it's still not great. It's not super fantasy friendly. The matchup is fantastic, so you can't ignore that. But I just feel like the offense itself is going to hold these guys back a little bit. So that's my take on it. Another super chat. Wow. Okay. What? Is this for real? I don't know if I'm misreading this, but Alex Sobrin, $129. Are you serious? I'm blown away. That is unbelievable, man. Thank you so much. And wow. I mean, yeah, I really appreciate it. But again, I'll say very grateful for the $129, but you could have put, I don't know how much, a third of that, a tenth of the, I don't know. I'm not good at math. Pierre's a teacher here. Maybe he's better at math. Into the Patreon and gotten the whole month paid for. But again, very grateful, very appreciative. So, wow, $129 super chat. Thank you so much.
We better give a really good answer to this question.
Yeah, we can't mess this one up. A lot of pressure. All right, what do you think about Jamar Chase and Swift this weekend moving forward? Wow, that's how we open the show.
So now my answer applies. Everything I said about this week, it's there you go. You have it, but I'll repeat it. I like Chase a little bit better just because I think that they're going to have to pass the ball, especially without Mixon. Going against the Packers, you're going to assume that the Packers will have a pretty good time scoring against the Bengals defense, and Bengals are, they do that anyways. They fall back to kind of pass first mode with Burrow. And look, there's going to be plenty of targets to go around. I think T. Higgins is playing, but still may not be 100%. But this looks promising for Chase. Swift, it's just always a risk starting him. He could boom, but again, you're dependent on those receptions. He's not carrying the ball that much. I believe it's either 41 or 42 rush attempts on the year, and Jamal Williams has either 42 or 43. He's not doing it on the ground. He's only doing it as a receiver. And so you're hoping that they do what Detroit does and they fall behind and then they pass it. And of course, like, who do we pass it to? Okay, well, there's TJ Hawkinson. Okay, TJ Hawkinson's covered. Let's dump it off to the running back. So like maybe if Hawkinson doesn't play, then you like Swift because he's going to get a lot of targets, but I'd still go for the boom play with Chase.
Yeah, I definitely like Chase more this week and long-term. I know you did ask long-term as well. I do like Chase this week. And well, for long term for me, like I said in the beginning, it comes down to team needs. If I needed a running back more, Swift, Chase. If I needed a wide receiver more, Chase. And he did let me know those were Mexican pesos, so I'm not sure how much that is in US dollars. Not 129, but still appreciative. Whatever it was.
Man, that was a big letdown.
All right, we got another super chat from Stephen Drakes. And again, Steven, appreciate it. I think you were here last week too, and you super chatted us last week, and we really appreciate that. Or for the amount you just super chatted, you could have a full month with us, of an entire month. So think about down in the description, clicking that Patreon link and supporting us and getting it for an entire month. But his question is, would you start Mooney this week in half PPR? I mean, yeah, it would obviously depend on your other options, but I do like Mooney this week. I like Mooney with Fields. How about you?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say if I would start him depending on who else you got. Do I generally like or dislike Mooney? I'm kind of in between on him this week. Look, we saw he was clearly the leading receiver last week, doubled almost Allen Robinson's output. He's got a lot of air yards over Robinson for whatever reason. So they're using Mooney more as a deep threat, Robinson underneath. So that's promising, but it also, we've seen that the first 3 games, just like every other Bear receiver, did nothing. So there is some risk involved, right? So I think you can go with Mooney. Look, I got Mooney in, I think at least 1, maybe 2 of my lineups this week, but it's not a great matchup because the Raiders actually have a good secondary. I know I mentioned that before. So I feel okay. Like he's maybe like a more of a high-end wide receiver 4 for me this week.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm quite that low on him. I put him more in like the wide receiver 3 range with Fields out there and with Nagy no longer calling the plays, but certainly depends on who else you have. And then he also asks, how do you feel about Aiyuk with no Kittle?
There we go. So this is the $1 million question this week. Look, Aiyuk is total risk reward here. I will say this. Obviously, there's more targets to go around. But you have to remember last week in the second half I'm looking at the second half of last week, right? Trey Lance was the quarterback, right? Garoppolo had been injured. He was out. Trey Lance played a half a game. George Kittle was pretty much out. Because he had that calf issue. He had 4 catches, 40 yards the first half, and then was non-existent, right? He was battling the injury. So we kind of got a glimpse of what we would see, what we're going to see this week. And Brandon Aiyuk did nothing. Okay, now that doesn't mean he's for sure going to do nothing, but you're basically hoping for a big play from him. So he's kind of, to me, almost in the same vein as like a Deshaun Jackson, who, yeah, maybe he hits and maybe if he doesn't, and if he doesn't, he's going to give you nothing. So he's more of a home run play just on that. And in a PPR league, I think the floor is almost 0, like it's maybe 2 or 3 points. I still think that even though Trey Lance is a guy who's going to air it out more, I still think they're going to target Debo the most, like what we've seen all season. I still think there's trust issues with Aiyuk and that coaching staff. I don't think Lance is necessarily going to look Aiyuk's way anymore. So I'm really not starting Aiyuk unless I don't have a better option.
Yeah, I agree. I will say I think Ayuk's an okay hold now. I know a lot of people probably drop
Yeah.
in like a 10-team league. That's fine if you dropped him for somebody usable. But if you still have Ayuk, I think he's worth holding to see how it goes with Lance and without Kittle. But no, I agree with you. I would not feel good rolling him out. Like if it was between Ayuk and Mooney, I would 100% start Mooney. No
Yeah.
doubt.
Same here.
All right, unruly drip. We did get another super chat, but no question with it. So thank you, Blue Crew. If you have a question, go ahead and type it in and we'll get to it. But if you're just supporting us, hey, we appreciate it. All right, unruly drip. Here we go. Our first Trey Lance question. Trey Lance or Ryan Tannehill?
I mean, look, on the one hand, like the matchup obviously favors Tannehill. And I would say if AJ Brown is for sure playing, which I think he is, right? He's confirmed he is going to play.
He's going to play, yes.
Okay, so that helps. That definitely helps. Lance has more upside. There's no mistake about that. The Titans are always going to be Derrick Henry first. Tannehill really hasn't looked that good. I know that his receivers have been injured, but last year he didn't have Julio. It was AJ Brown and Corey Davis. Yeah, Corey Davis is good, but still, it wasn't like an all-star receiving core. And he had a solid year. He hadn't looked good even week 1 when everybody was on the field. And week 2, same thing. So I'm a little worried about Tannehill. I think it's easy to just look at Jacksonville and say they're going to roll over him. I don't think it's that easy. So I don't really like Tannehill's upside. I would prefer Trey Lance, especially because Trey Lance can do it with his legs. Good chance that he can run for a big play, run for a score. We've seen what he can do. He doesn't look rattled. And I mentioned this. Actually, I think I wrote this the other day. Out of all rookie quarterbacks who have played this year, there's only one that has a positive touchdown to interception ratio. And that's Trey Lance. Mac Jones dead even 4-4. He's been starting all season. Zach Wilson, obviously more interceptions than touchdowns. All of the rookie quarterbacks, except for Trey Lance, has 3 touchdowns, has yet to be picked. And now all the worry about him was his accuracy. I'm not that worried. All right. And fantasy wise, we don't really care anyways. I don't care what his completion percentage is. I care how many fantasy points he's going to get me. And the edge goes to Trey Lance.
Yeah, I agree. I remember last year when Tyson Williams, when Taysom Hill took over for Drew Brees, and on our start show, I was telling everybody, start him because he runs. And people were like, he sucks at passing. Doesn't matter. And then he went out there and was awesome. And then I remember when Jalen Hurts took over, start him. He can run, but he sucks at passing. It doesn't matter. Start Trey Lance because rushing upside alone will gives him such a high floor. And if he can go out there and throw for 250 and a couple touchdowns on top of the rushing upside, he's going to have a monster game. So, yeah, I agree. Got to start Trey Lance over Ryan Tannehill for sure. All right, Strother Knight. Who do you think is a good trade value for Waller? I'm in need of a wide receiver or running back. It's always a tough question to say. I'll tell you this, because we get a lot of trade questions in the Discord, which, by the way, guys, if you can't support us on the Patreon, no big deal. We understand not everybody can, but we do have a free Discord channel. You can support us in a free Discord channel. You're not even really supporting us. It's more supporting you, honestly. But get a lot of trade questions in there. And the thing I always think about, like when I'm making a trade, the first thing I think about is what does my team need? And then I go look for a team that has that or potentially has that. And then I look at what does their team need, right? So it's not enough just to say trade Darren Waller for, I don't know, Calvin Ridley. Like that, maybe the guy who has Calvin Ridley really needs Calvin Ridley. Like he has no other wide receivers, and it's not going to work. Or some other team might have like 5 really good wide receivers, and he can part with Calvin Ridley. I'm just using an example. So it's really impossible to say who's a good trade target. But what you should do is, okay, you need a wide receiver, running back. Go team by team. Look at who their running backs or wide receivers are. If you find a player that you think you like, look at the rest of their team. Can they lose that wide receiver and be okay still? And do they need Darren Waller? Which they probably do, because unless they have Kelsey, they need Darren Waller, right? I'm not going to give you an answer like who should you trade for it. That's how I would approach it.
Yeah, it's so hard to just blindly say trade Waller for, this guy, that guy. It always depends. So that's why Discord helps. You can post your team roster. You can post some of your opponents' rosters, whatever it is, ask more detailed questions. But I would just say that, look, everybody, unless you have Kelsey, everybody needs a tight end like that, right? Everyone would be glad to have him. So you can target anybody at this point, right? It's not about filling a need. Everybody needs a tight end. So then if you're just going for anything, you're saying a wide receiver or a running back. Well, so you're open to anything at that point. What do you need then besides that? I mean, do you have more glaring need? Running back is going to be hard to fill. You're not going to get a running back of the caliber of a Darren Waller at his position that somebody's going to just say, oh yeah, I'll give you, Antonio Gibson or Jonathan Taylor. They're not going to do that probably, unless it just happens that they have 3 stud running backs, which probably is not likely. So you're probably going to swap Waller for a wide receiver, target a low end wide receiver 1. I could say right now, maybe a guy that hasn't done much lately that people are down on, like AJ Brown. People might say, oh, he's always injured. Okay, we'll take advantage of that. Maybe Calvin Ridley because he's out this week, and he hasn't really lived up to it. Maybe someone for some ridiculous reason is going to worry about DK Metcalf just because Russell Wilson is out. DK Metcalf will be fine, I think. Okay. Tyler Lockett's a different story. But anyways, that's what I would say.
Yeah, you gotta look at, there's more to a trade than just player for player.
Right.
And when you can identify what the other team may need and may accept, it makes a trade much easier to pull off. All right, Michael Perez, pick one: Shenault, Beasley, or Crowder in half PPR. These are all guys I love in PPR, and now we're talking about half PPR.
Yeah, it's the battle of the slot receivers. So we're not worried about target share. Look, I would say Shenault over Beasley just because Beasley's the third, maybe you could say the fourth target in that offense. I know it's a great offense and it's a great matchup, but still the floor isn't as high. So I would say not Beasley, even though I do like Beasley this week. I wouldn't put him over Shenault for sure. Crowder, you know what? Crowder looked good last week. Crowder also one of the top targets, but even though it's also a good matchup, Elijah Moore, I think, is playing this week. Crowder's still probably the number 2 guy there behind Corey Davis. You're trusting Zach Wilson as opposed to Trevor Lawrence. I know Trevor Lawrence hasn't been that good, but I still trust him over Zach Wilson. And those London games can get ugly sometimes. So I would still go with the Shenault.
Yeah, I would go Shenault here. I think he has a little more upside in half PPR because, Crowder could have a 7 for 70 game. Which is great in PPR, right? You're talking about 14 points or like a 7 for 80 game, which is like 15 points, but in half it gets knocked down. Where Shenault score a touchdown, he's got that yard after catch ability to pick up more yardage. So I like Shenault in that one as well. All right, Ronnie Santana. Start for, I assume he means his wide receiver 2. Shenault, Devonta Smith, or Emmanuel Sanders.
Talking about the Bills, I do like Emmanuel Sanders this week. I know you do too. We both had him as a must start. I think it was a must start, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was a must start or a boom, but yeah,
boom.
We got him in there.
It's hard to pass on Sanders, especially this week. We know there's going to be a lot of points on the board probably in that game. So, man, Devontae Smith. Look, I like Devontae Smith. We know he's the one there. It's a tougher matchup, and I think there's a lot more risk there. So Sanders to me is kind of like the safer play here.
Yeah, do I like Sanders more than Shenault? That's my question right now. I do like Sanders a lot. And I think I am a little lower than most people on Shenault. I am a little worried that, DJ Chark is out and he should get more targets, but is he still going to get targets down the field, or is he going to get like 4-yard targets? I'm still a little worried about that.
Right.
So I probably do go Sanders here. I just like his upside a little more. It's really close between him and Shenault. But yeah, I probably go Sanders. But man, that one's tough.
That's the thing with Shenault. He doesn't score touchdowns that very often. Sanders, we know, has higher touchdown upside. If it's standard league, I think it has to be Sanders. Half PPR is pretty close. PPR, maybe you give the edge to Shenault because it's, he's almost, I don't want to say sure, but there's a good chance he gets more targets. But even then, Sanders just might have a little higher of a ceiling.
Yeah. All right. Apologies. I'm going to mispronounce your name. I'm going to do my best. Ivane Zapata Jr. Standard scoring, which, by the way, guys, yeah, there's a couple questions now. Make sure you put the scoring in there so we know. Damian Harris, Najee Harris, or Keenan Allen, standard scoring.
I thought you were going to say weekly reminder, don't play standard scoring.
No, but I know
That too.
some leagues you don't have control. The commissioner won't change it. You've been in the league for 20 years.
Right.
You've always done standard. I get it. So
Yeah. Look, I like Damian Harris, and I get that it's not PPR, so the whole pass catching edge, that Najee has doesn't matter as much. But I'm not going to put Damian Harris over Najee Harris, no matter what the matchup is. So can't do that. So definitely got Najee Harris over Damian Harris. The third choice is interesting. We're talking about Keenan Allen. I'm down on Allen this week based on the matchup. Cleveland defense, I think, finally showing that they are for real. And you take PPR out of the equation. We're just going for overall yardage. It's really close for me between Allen and Najee. Man, because we're just looking for yardage and touchdown upside. I think probably Allen has a slightly better chance to score, but I think Harris probably gets more all-purpose yards. So I think Najee is a slightly safer call here.
yeah, I definitely. For me, when I saw the question, it was obviously Najee to me. I mean, I love Keenan Allen, but in non PPR and standard scoring, Najee almost certainly going to have more yards. I mean, Keenan can go for 100 plus for sure, but Najee probably going to have more yards. And I know the Steelers don't get a lot of goal line opportunities, but he gets so much work in both the run game and the pass game that he doesn't need a goal line carry to score, right? He can score from maybe not from anywhere on the field, but anywhere inside the 20. So I got to go Najee. And plus in standard scoring, I almost always lean running back anyways because wide receivers take such a huge hit in standard scoring. So for me, it's Najee pretty easily.
Yeah. All right. And it's Najee. Najee, once again, if I said Najee, apologies.
To that too. Najee. All right. This is actually a tough one. This is the battle of the handcuffs who may get some run. So Rafael Fonseca, again, apologies if I mispronounce your name, doing my best. Madison or Pollard?
To me, it's easily Pollard just because he's getting touches. It sounds like, look, Cook is questionable, but we haven't really heard anything that's making it sound like he's not going to play at all. Maybe they do the smart thing, hold him out, which I guess they should have just done last week because he didn't look good and obviously still hurting. But I don't love Madison's chances for a huge game. Detroit has been worse in the pass defense than the run defense anyways. So I'd go with Pollard. I think Pollard is a pretty solid pick.
Yeah, I go with Pollard too. I mean, Madison did have 10 carries last week. So, because again, Cook only played 52% of the snaps. He's not 100%. They should have rested him last week. I don't think they're going to rest him. I mean, if you played Dalvin Cook last week, it doesn't really make sense to now rest him this week because then you're pretty much saying we should have rested him last week and now you basically don't. You know what I mean? You look pretty dumb, but who knows? So I do think Cook will play. I do think he'll be somewhat limited again, maybe not as limited as last week. So, yeah, I agree, Pollard. We know Pollard gets, I'm not going to say enough run, but at least enough run where, he can bust a play and make something happen. So, yeah, I think Pollard as well. All right, Kyle Ellis, Kittle's hurt. He's 2-2. He's the number 4 seed, 8-man PPR. He's asking, should he trade Aaron Jones and Marquise Brown for Kelce and Mike Williams? He currently has Jamar Chase, Robert Woods, AB, Marvin Jones, Shenault. So he's not great at wide receiver. And he's got Derrick Henry, Chris Carson, and Javonte.
Who say the running backs again?
Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Chris Carson, and Javonte. This is assuming he makes the trade. If he doesn't make the trade, he also has Aaron Jones. But he's got Kittle, so he's asking, should he get Kelce and Mike Williams and give up Aaron Jones and Marquise Brown?
I think you're going to need Aaron Jones. Again, an 8-man league. I used to play in an 8-man league. It's you need the studs, right? And the fact that now you have Carson, who's kind of a big question mark here. Mixon is always a question mark. Like you should be fine, but you're not, especially this week. You kind of need Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones as a top 10 running back pretty solidly the rest of this year. Look, I know I get that you want Kelce in the tight end production, but running back's probably gonna be more valuable for you. So I would say try to throw out a buy low offer on a different tight ends. Maybe the guy who has Gronk when Gronk comes back in a couple of weeks. Just because I don't think you're really getting an upgrade from Mike Williams to Marquise Brown either. So I probably would hold on to Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I agree. I would hold on to Aaron Jones. Also, in an 8-man team, I mean, there should be some decent tight ends. Like, is Mike Gesicki available? Because he's been awesome since week one. I mean, he's been really good since week one. I don't think people are realizing it. He's kind of going under the radar, but he's been really good since week one. With Will Fuller out, I mean, he should continue to get tons of targets. So I would think in an 8-man league, there's got to be somebody halfway decent on the waivers at tight end. But I know it's a rough position, so maybe not. All right, Simon Patel, Noah Fant or Jared Cook?
I was going to go with Noah Fant, especially we know it sounds like Teddy B might be back. Cortland Sutton is questionable. The Broncos just keep getting injuries in the receiving core. Look, I know Pittsburgh is a good defense, but they've given up quite a bit of yardage in the passing game so far this year. They're a really tough run defense. So for this week, still, I like Fant. Cook is kind of a boom bust guy. I got to go with Fant.
Yeah, I got to go Fant as well. And Teddy B, it looks like will play this week, so that's good news for all the Denver pass catchers, really. All right, eat powder. Why would you eat powder? Maybe it's snow. I don't know. Half point. Should I play James Conner over Kareem Hunt if Chase Edmonds doesn't play? Because Chase Edmonds is questionable also. Now, I haven't heard anything that sounds like he's going to miss, but if he misses in half point PPR, do you play Conner over Hunt?
No, look, I get it. And I know I've heard Edmonds is questionable game time decision. It's still Connor's not going to really have that pass catching floor like Hunt will. You've seen the way Hunt is doing. I mean, there's people going a little overreacting, talking about Hunt now as the guy instead of Chubb. No, there's nothing wrong with Nick Chubb, but still, Hunt is fine. Hunt is going to be a strong RB2 every week all year. So I don't really have a reason to bench Hunt unless I have a guy who's significantly better. Connor is not that guy. Connor's been a lot of, he's dependent on red zone carries. He's got, I think, 5 money zone carries this year, and he's cashed in on 4 of them. Yeah, that could keep happening. But again, you're talking about a guy who's pretty much touchdown dependent. I'm not going to put a guy like that in over a guy like Hunt.
Yeah, Hunt's been awesome this year. I feel like Hunt, I mean, unless you have like incredible running backs, which very few of us do, Hunt's almost a must start. And real quick, guys, before we move on, still have a lot of questions. We'll try to get to them. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you're enjoying it, if we're helping you out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget, check below. We got the free Discord. And if you want to join us every Sunday morning, plus other perks, we got our Patreon. So check that out. All right, DH, what's up, man? Good to see you. Damian Harris or T. Higgins?
It's interesting. Oh, did we know PPR or no?
No, he didn't say, but I assume PPR.
PPR, yeah, you got to go Higgins. Look, if he's playing, he's fine. He missed, a week. Didn't seem like a serious injury. I like Higgins. I think we can't forget about him just because he was on the shelf for a while. Got to go Higgins, especially if it is PPR.
Yeah, and I agree. It's got to be Higgins and no Alexander this week for the Packers, which is a huge boost because he is a shutdown corner on IR. So that's a huge boost for Higgins. So I agree. I got to be Higgins. All right. Joe, PPR, pick one. Wait, yeah, we'll do this question first. Did get a super chat, but we'll do this question first since I already started. All right, pick one in PPR: Kyle Pitts, Antonio Brown, or Cortland Sutton.
I would say Sutton, but I know he's questionable. This goes to the question of whether you think he's going to play, and if he does play, if he'll be limited. I mean, we're hearing, I think what it is on Friday, the very last practice, that he rolled his ankle. So that's not something serious. I mean, I don't think that's going to limit him, do you?
No, and I saw last night there was a report that said, good news, it looks like he's avoided anything serious and he should be good to go on Sunday. Now, whether 100% or not, I don't know, but it sounds like he'll at least play.
Yeah, I would put him still over Antonio Brown. He's the one there. Brown, we already talked about Brown. And so I would still, out of those 3, I'd still go with Sutton.
Yeah, I would go with Sutton as well. And then we did get a super chat from Kevin. Roger I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I apologize. Evan Engram, Robert Tunyon, or Austin Hooper in standard scoring. Which one?
It's got to be Tunyon because he catches touchdowns and the others don't. I mean, they just don't. Austin Hooper just seems like one of the tight ends there, right? Njoku's actually been more their big play guy, who's getting those yardage. I mean, you could almost start Njoku over Hooper. Bryant's still involved, so you can't love Hooper. Even with Landry out, it really didn't do a lot for him. Engram will catch passes. He's getting targeted. He's just not getting a lot of yards, and he's not scoring touchdowns. So it's got to be Tunyon.
Yeah, it's got to be Tunyon. I do like Engram in PPR formats because, like you said, he's getting a lot of targets. He's getting the receptions. Has a high floor for a tight end, which is like 7 or 8 points in PPR. But in standard scoring, yeah, it's got to be Tunyon. It's got to hope he finds the end zone. All right, D's. Give me 2 out of these 3. Javonte Williams. Ooh, boy, this is a rough bunch. Javonte Williams, Curtis Samuel, or Brandon Ayuk?
I was going to say not Javonte this week, but now that I hear the other options, it's and I've said with Javonte, I have both Broncos running backs as sits. It's dead even there. They're getting the exact same amount of touches every week, and it's not a lot. It's less than 15 touches per week. This is a bad matchup on the road at Pittsburgh, good run defense. So I wouldn't start Javonte Williams. Would I start Brandon Ayuk over him? I don't know. Because at least you're getting touches. Ayuk's floor, I think already said, is almost nothing. It's like 2 points. So probably Ayuk would probably have to be the guy you sit.
Yeah, I think he is. You got to hope. I mean, Javonte, at least he's going to get some touches. Samuel did have 4 catches last week, and he only ran a route on 12% of Heineke's dropbacks. That's a good sign. Hopefully he's more involved this week as he gets healthier. So, yeah, I think you got to go Javonte and Curtis Samuel and just cross your fingers, hope one of them scores or the other one catches a bunch of passes. I don't know. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go. Isaac Otero, Jalen Hurts, or Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, all right. If it Hurts question, it's got to be a good one, right? I mean, you got to have a really good option. Man, Aaron Rodgers going against the Bengals, that's hard to pass up, Chris. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers going against the Bengals. But Jalen Hurts is I'm going to guess this, in fantasy so far this year, he's QB4?
3. He's the QB
3. He's up to 3 now.
And he should be the QB1, but robbed of like 4 touchdowns last week. Otherwise, he'd be the QB1. But yeah, he's a QB3 right now.
So you bench the QB3?
No, you don't bench Jalen Hurts. You know what you do? Since you have both of them, you try to trade Aaron Rodgers to somebody who needs a QB. Go find the person that has like Ryan Tannehill and say, hey, I got Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
All right, Atlas Young. Here's an interesting one. AJ Green or Christian Kirk?
Man, I hate that whole situation. So, I mean, AJ Green is getting more targets on a consistent basis. Kirk, including red zone targets, he's getting targeted in the end zone and the red zone. So he's not dust, apparently. Christian Kirk, he'll have his booms and he'll have his busts. So what do you feel like is going to happen against San Francisco? Pretty good defense. I think I would still take my chances with Kirk, but I wouldn't feel great about it because, again, you're playing the guessing game here, right, with the Cardinals receivers. But I still think I roll with Kirk.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a monster game, and everybody's going to be like, "Oh yeah, he's really good at football. I forgot." That's what I think is going to happen. I think AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore are going to be kind of afterthoughts this week. So I would roll with Christian Kirk as well because AJ Green needs, the targets. He's not going to catch a 50-yard touchdown pass, right? He's not going to streak down the sideline and take a 50-yard pass to the house like Christian Kirk can. Now, I know Christian Kirk might do nothing, and AJ Green might do a little something, but I would still shoot for the upside of Kirk. And then Braden C, I had Kittle. Now he's on IR. What do? You go to the waivers, you pick up a tight end, you cross your fingers, and you pray. Pretty much all you can do at this point, unfortunately. All right, Gabriel Bershner. Hey guys, please rank these running backs. Mike Davis, Antonio Gibson, CEH. I guess for this week. How do we rank those guys for this week?
Well, that's pretty easy. Mike Davis would be last. Antonio Gibson would be first, with CEH kind of stuck in the middle.
See, I'm a little worried about Gibson with this stress fracture, and now I'm starting to think maybe that's why he hasn't been getting the snaps and he hasn't been having the production. If that he's just not 100%, not close to 100% right now.
But he's still playing, right? He's still going to play.
Well, yeah, he's still playing. I mean, they're all going to play. I it's crazy for me to say, but I think I have CEH first of that group right now. I'm just nervous about Gibson. I mean, if you take out that 73-yard screen pass for a touchdown, he's done nothing this year. Nothing. And I really do think, I mean, yeah, McKissick is definitely, a big reason for that. But is that because he has a stress fracture in his shin and it hurts him to run and he doesn't have the explosiveness and the burst? Although I guess if you take a 73-yard pass to the house, maybe you're okay there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but I would go CEH, Gibson, Davis personally.
Yeah, like if it's not enough to keep him out from playing, I think it's not something you can take into consideration too much. I still like Gibson's talent more. I know it's not a great matchup this week for him either, but I also feel like, CEH, you never know what you're getting. They're not going to establish the run too much. They're not going to try to establish the run. Who are we getting against Buffalo this weekend? So I think Edwards-Helaire is just too dependent on getting in the end zone.
All right, and then rank these wide receivers: Waddle, Mooney, Devonta Smith.
For this week, I'm moving Waddle up. I like Devontae Parker this week, but now he's got a hamstring, and he's a guy who's, even if he plays, has not done very well when he's not 100%. You have to like Waddle's chances of getting a lot of targets. Tampa Bay, of course, secondary is decimated by injuries. They give up the second most fantasy points to wide receivers. So I like Waddle this week, and then I would probably put Devontae Smith next.
Yeah, my only change is I would have Smith over Waddle. I mean, the matchup is fantastic for Waddle. My problem for Waddle is he's kind of like Jamison Crowder. It doesn't seem like, right? He can catch 7 passes for 60, 70 yards, but I don't know if he can do more than that. Like, he's not going to have a 100-plus yard game. I mean, unless he, breaks a tackle or two and takes off. So I like Smith a little bit more than Waddle. It's close between those two, and then Mooney definitely third. All right, Atlas Young, here we are, 2021, ladies and gentlemen. Lamar Jackson or Sam Darnold?
It's still Lamar Jackson. It's always going to be Lamar Jackson. You don't bench Lamar Jackson because there's no reason to worry about Lamar Jackson.
I mean, isn't Sam Darnold just a better Lamar Jackson right now? I mean, he's got 5 rushing touchdowns.
Wow. That's on YouTube. This is being filmed. So I have you on record saying that.
You definitely play Lamar Jackson.
It's Lamar Jackson.
I said in our Discord the other day, I don't think Sam Darnold's going to have another rushing touchdown all year. I mean, he leads the league in rushing touchdowns. Like, he's going to crash back down to earth here at some point. Now, he's been throwing the ball fine.
He might have one this week because McCaffrey's still not playing. But beyond that, who knows?
But I think he had rushing touchdowns even when McCaffrey was healthy. It was ridiculous. It was crazy.
It's great.
All right, we already answered one of his questions, so I'm going to skip so we can get to some other people. All right, Sacroon, Hollywood Brown or Michael Pittman?
Pittman. I know Pittman's final line wasn't tremendous last week. If you watch parts of that game, though, twice he almost had a touchdown. He got tackled at the 1-yard line, inches away, and then he absolutely should have had a touchdown. He was open in the back of the end zone, just got missed because his quarterback is Carson Wentz. His quarterback is still Carson Wentz, so that hasn't gone away. But I like Pittman there as, that lead receiver on that team. They're probably going to need to pass a little bit more this week, so I do like Pittman.
You like him more than Marquise Brown?
I do. Well, if it's full PPR, then yeah, I do. Because I think he's going to come away with more catches. There's a good chance he comes away with more yards. And I think, even though Brown has that touchdown almost streak, we should have had a touchdown streak. Look, Pittman's getting end zone chances too. So I still like Pittman.
I feel like you're still like like you're like me, it's still hard for you to accept Marquise Brown as being.
No, hey, I was never anti-Hollywood like you are. Especially, look, Marquise, he got his name. He's from Hollywood, Florida. It's not too far from where I grew up. So I like Marquise Brown. That's not the issue. The issue is I like some sort of floor. We know that with Marquise Brown, if he doesn't hit on those deep passes, he could still get you a zero. I mean, he hasn't been doing that, but still, I go with the guy who I know is going to get more of a target share. And to me, it's Pittman.
I don't know. I mean, 19, 23, 8 when he dropped 3 passes, and 19 so far this year. I love Pittman. I think Pittman's great. I wish Carson Wentz was his quarterback because Carson Wentz is not great. So I still go Hollywood Brown here. Maybe I'm too high on Hollywood Brown. I don't know, but Lamar is slinging it. They're throwing it deep more than ever. They're throwing it more than ever. He's better than Carson Wentz. I'm going to go with Hollywood. But I do really like Pittman as well. All right, Shelton Mayfield, another quarterback question. Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow?
You don't get too cute and look at matchups here. You got a guy like Herbert, you start Herbert. So no reason not to start Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert for sure. All right, Jackson SF82, Damian Harris, Darnell Mooney, or Curtis Samuel in full PPR?
Let's talk about Curtis Samuel a little more. And he's mentioned in an earlier question, I kind of skimmed over him. I like Samuel this week because we know Logan Thomas is hurt. We know Gibson is kind of banged up. I think Samuel gets more involved. Last week was his first week back, right? His first week for the season. So they're going to work him more into the offense. I think they're going to need him. So we could see a lot more Curtis Samuel than we expect. So I kind of like Curtis Samuel this week.
Even over your boy, Damian Harris?
Even though, is it full PPR?
Yeah, full PPR.
I think you have to. I did call Harris a must start. I know he could smash, but I do like Samuel too.
I mean, I know Harris has that great matchup, but they're also missing 4 starting O linemen this week.
Right.
Now, it's Houston, so they can probably overcome that, but I would like Harris a lot more if that O line was healthy. I do worry about Samuel still maybe only playing, half the snaps. But he did have 4 for 45 last week, so he did, that was, I think Logan Thomas went out fairly early last week, so it's close between those guys. Samuel's my guy. I've been talking to Samuel up all season. I just want to see it once. I want to see him out there like 60, 70, 80% of the snaps and be like, okay, he's back. He's healthy. That's my worry. And he really didn't practice much at all this week till Friday, which, makes sense. They're trying to, keep him healthy. But I think I still might go Damian Harris. But I definitely get it if you want to go Curtis Samuel. I definitely get that. And I feel like something's happening here. Like I'm recommending Damian Harris and Marquise Brown, and you're recommending Michael Pittman and Curtis Samuel. Like, what's happened here? It's like, what's going on here?
I know. We're getting each other's heads too much.
I guess so. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to get to people who we haven't answered questions for. All right. Chamua. Apologies if I mispronounced that, which I probably did. Here's an interesting one. Kamara or Dalvin Cook rest of season in full PPR?
I don't even know what I guarantee whatever it was, you definitely butchered that name because I have no idea what syllables were used or anything. So That's all right, though. It's all right. Okay. Rest of season, Kamara or
Dalvin Cook?
Dalvin Cook. Well, look, do we know what Dalvin Cook's situation is? That's the thing. He's gimpy this week. He was limited last week. So
he'll be healthy at some point here. He'll be healthy at some point.
I mean, in a vacuum, look, who did I have ranked higher in the preseason? It was Dalvin Cook, right? At some point, Michael Thomas maybe will come back. Who knows? Kamara has been good, but not Alvin Kamara of last year. So I would still say if you assume Cook is not seriously injured, which I guess we have to assume, it's still Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, it's Dalvin Cook. Kamara, 14 targets on the season. 14. That's a 17 game pace of 59. So the fears about the pass catching are real. It seems like the Saints' game plan is run the ball, control the clock, lean on the defense, and grind out, ugly victories, and sometimes that backfires on you like it did last week against the Giants. But it seems like that's their goal right now. Now, could that change when or if Michael Thomas comes back? Sure. But for now, he's getting a lot of carries, which is great, but he's not getting those receptions that we need to give him, the through the roof value, which Dalvin Cook still gets, and he gets a ton of carries too when he's healthy. So for me, definitely Dalvin Cook. All right, 2021, here we go. Joel Hewitt, Renfro, or Josh Jacobs in the flex?
I think you gotta go actually with Jacobs because look, we saw when he came back, it was all him. I mean, that's it, all him. And now Peyton Barber's banged up. I don't know if it's official. Barber's out. I heard he might be out for a while, but we can forget Peyton Barber. Kenyon Drake is just non-existent there. So it's going to be a lot of Jacobs. I think you go with the guy who's going to get the touches. Renfro's been okay, but again, he's not winning you weeks either. He's kind of that same type of player you talked about, that slot guy like Jamison Crowder. Yeah, he'll give you a few catches. He'll give you some yards. He's not going for 100+ yards. He's not making that huge play. He's not scoring multiple touchdowns. So you got to go with Jacobs.
Yeah, I think sadly you do have to go with Jacobs. I don't like both these guys to me are like, whatever. But Jacobs at least is going to get 15+ touches, whereas Renfro is going to get 5 or 6. So, yeah.
I'll just say at this point it is we're an hour in. Hopefully we're helping you guys, but you know what? If we don't, apologies. If you want some more one-on-one time, I guess it will be 1-on-2. Well, whatever. You want our attention more, you want to get all your questions answered, there's actually an easy way to do it. If you become a patron and support us, then not only would we definitely appreciate that, you'll get to join our special Sunday morning show where we go the exact same length with a much smaller crowd, and you can ask as many questions as you want. So go ahead and check that out in the description below. Join our Patreon. Plus, there are perks. That's right. Not just the start sit advice every week, but other things. So check it out. Let's go on with the questions. We're not quite ready for lightning round yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're trying to get through these best we can. All right, here's the tight end question for week 5. Carlos Gomez, Conklin or Seals Jones?
That's a 2021 question if I ever heard it. Man.
It's a 2021 question, but next year it's just going to be 2 other random tight ends. And the year after that, it's going to be 2 other random tight ends. It's going to go on this way forever until people stop playing tight ends. But anyways.
I almost want to say just forget those guys and pick up Ross Dwelly. But look, between those two, Conklin, he'll have his moments, but I guess I'd rather have Seals Jones. I don't love either, but I guess we did see at least Ricky Seals Jones was targeted in the end zone. He's got the touchdown upside, so I'm slightly leaning towards him.
Yeah, someone's got to take that Logan Thomas role. It seems like it'll be him. So I would lean him as well. All right, big hop. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Brandin Cooks or Marvin Jones?
Well, Brandin Cooks is interesting because just when we were saying after the first 3 weeks that he's quarterback proof and he's, this, that, whatever, leading the league in team air yard share, target share, all these things. And then last week, nothing, right? Because Davis Mills, let's just face it, is not ready for prime time. Not going to be a good matchup this week either, going against the Patriots who Bill Belichick eats rookie quarterbacks for lunch. And, you can't expect a lot out of him. But still, Brandin Cooks is the only guy they have there. He still always has a chance, to make a big play. So I don't hate Brandin Cooks. I'm still going to go with Marvin Jones. I think, even though my gut tells me Brandin Cooks will rebound, I just think Marvin Jones in that matchup is too good. The Titans secondary is terrible.
I mean, Marvin Jones did nothing last week too, and he had the same quarterback, and against a bad defense. Look, I'm giving last week a pass. Not only was it the Bills, and I know I said last week on our start-sit video or must-start video, I said, you start him, I don't care if it's the Bills. You start him, well, maybe I should have cared if it was the Bills. But also, it was pouring rain. Terrible situation for Mills. I think he does rebound this week. The guy's had a 30% plus target share in every single game. That is ridiculously high. So if Davis Mills throws the ball 30 plus times, he's getting 10 plus targets. And for me, that's enough. I mean, look, Mike Evans just went 7 for 75 against the Patriots. Just play man. They play man all over the field. So I'm not worried about any of those Patriots corners. Stephon Gilmore, no longer a Patriot. I'm not worried about them, destroying Davis Mills or anything like that. I do love that Marvin Jones matchup, but I do worry like Marvin Jones could go out there and only get 5 or 6 targets or only catch like 4 passes just because that Jaguars offense is really bad. So I still got to go Brandon Cooks personally.
Close. It is pretty close.
Yeah, it's definitely not like definitely this guy. It is close. And I get why you want. I mean, I am starting Marvin Jones in one league where I have him because the matchup is too good. But if I had Brandon Cooks, I think I'd probably start him because again, I'm a guy that's going to get 10 plus targets. He only needs to catch 6, 7 of them to have a good day. Whereas, if Marvin Jones is only getting 7 or 8 targets, he's going to have to catch 6 or 7 of them, right, to have a good day. So, all right, we got a super chat from RJ and Mageni. Thank you. Emmanuel Sanders, Allen Robinson. That's our first Allen Robinson question today. Mike Davis or Damian Harris. We got to pick 3 of those guys in PPR.
Pick 3 of those guys. Okay. I'm going to rule out Mike Davis. I don't think he's worth starting for any reason at this point. I mean, just there's not much you can point to say this, that. I mean, okay, Calvin Ridley's out. Fine. Does that make this offense better? I don't think so. I think it means more Cordero Patterson, but I just don't have any faith left in Mike Davis.
Yeah, I think Mike Davis is the one you got to sit there. I think I'm a little higher on Mike Davis this week than a lot of people going against that Jets defense, that terrible Jets defense. But I would still sit him over those guys. All right, we kind of Sam Darnold or Justin Herbert. We talked about this. You're not benching Justin. I mean, right? You're not benching Justin Herbert, are you? For Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. All right. Okay, here we go. Gaetano Alterio. Again, apologies. I'm sure I mispronounced that. Doing my best here. Half PPR, pick 2. CEH, Damian Harris, or Damian Williams. Our first Damian. I was wrong. This is our first Damian Williams question. I thought we'd get a ton of them, but this is our first one.
I thought, look, we got a lot of Damian Williams questions in the Discord. I thought we would get a ton of those too. Okay, so Damian Williams, how do we feel about Damian Williams this week? Okay, he's not David Montgomery. I mean, there's a reason he's a backup. He's not with the Chiefs anymore. You're not going to score 3 touchdowns. So, I get that we're excited that Damian Williams is going to be the starter, but let's be real. He's a low end RB2, right? That's what he is. So Williams is okay if you need him, but he's not a must start to me. All right. So the other options, you said Damian Harris, I think. And CEH. I still, as much as I'm not a huge CEH fan, I would still put him over Damian Williams. Between CEH and Damian Harris this week, I'm going to stick to my guns and say Damian Harris because of the matchup, even though I do realize CEH could outscore him, but I'll go Harris slightly over CEH. And then I would put Williams last.
Maybe I'm too high on Damian Williams, but I really like Damian Williams this week. The Raiders they're meh against the run. He's going to be involved in the passing game, which Damian Harris probably won't, and CEH may not be very much in the passing game. It's half PPR, though, so that does hurt him a little bit there. Man, this is tough for me. This is actually a really tough one for me.
It's close across the board because they're very similar. CEH, obviously, Damian Williams coming, from that same offense, very similar players. So even though one's in a much better team context, he's also going to be used a lot less. Yeah. I worry with Justin Fields, their quarterback. He's a guy who can run the ball. I just don't know. I don't know how high the ceiling is for Williams, and that's my thing. Is I think Harris
ceiling for any of these guys.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think if someone you say could have a boom game, it would be Harris, just because we know he can rip off huge chunks. We know he's the guy who's going to get all the goal line carries, and the touchdown upside is there. So that's why I lean Harris.
We think we know that, but the last 2 weeks he hasn't been like the guy.
Last 2 weeks they went against the 2 best run defenses in the entire league, so he didn't even get to carry the ball.
Well, that's true. I don't know. I'll just defer to. I mean, they're all so close for me. And the Bears did run the ball a lot last week with Justin Fields. Even when Montgomery went out, they're still. I mean, they were ahead, so that helped. Yeah, it's really close. That's a tough one for me. It's really close. I like them all pretty similar this week. It's probably going to be like who finds the end zone. um,
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I think it's you look for touchdown upside. To me, Harris kind of has the highest touchdown upside for that reason. But Williams might have the highest floor of those guys.
Yeah. All right, here's another. Okay, now we get back-to-back Damian Williams questions. Braden C. Leonard Fournette or Damian Williams?
Oh, it's got to be Fournette. Had Fournette as a must start. Fournette's a guy you got to love this week. Gio still, I think, is Gio out? He's still out, right?
I don't know if they've ruled him out. Last I saw, he might have gotten in a limited practice, but I don't think it matters because Fournette still catches passes.
Yeah.
He gets the bulk of the work. So, yeah, I think it's got to be Fournette for sure.
But either way, Fournette's the lead back. Clearly, Rojo is just a change of pace guy at this point. Gio is coming in only in obvious passing situations and not at all lately because he's been hurt. So Fournette lead dog against Miami, who, again, probably not giving a lot of resistance. So I like Fournette.
Yeah. All right. So apparently the questions we're going to get tonight are Darnell Mooney and AJ Green. So Emmy Tegby, again, apologies. Darnell Mooney or AJ Green rest of season?
Rest of season, I got to go with Mooney, who's the number 2 guy with almost no competition behind him. Look, AJ Green's one of 4 receivers. You throw Max Williams in, who for some reason all of a sudden decided he knows how to catch the ball, and he got 5, and then Chase Edmonds a 6th. Look, I know Green has had a couple of big games, and he will have a big game once in a while, but I think once Fields kind of settles in, we've seen he has that rapport with Mooney, targeted Mooney more than Allen Robinson last week. I think, look, there's a reason we were excited about Mooney before this season. So I'm sticking with Mooney because he still kind of has that upside once this offense gets figured out. With Montgomery out, you got to figure, well, maybe they're going to even have to pass the ball more than they want to.
Yeah, I like Mooney more rest of the season, especially now that Fields has basically been named the starter for the rest of the season. It seems like that's going to be good for Mooney. I'm sure it'll be good for Allen Robinson too, but definitely good for Mooney. What's that?
It's good for everyone.
Good for everyone, yes. We got a super chat from Adrian Baca. Again, Adrian, probably just joining us, but for the amount you just super chatted us, which we appreciate, you can have a whole month with us. Check out the Patreon below. You get a whole month every Sunday morning in our private show where we answer these questions in a very, very small, intimate group. Just something to think about, but appreciate it. So he's looking ahead to next week. He's got some bye issues next week. Yeah, that's right. The byes start next week. This is when next week is when fantasy football teams start to separate the good from the bad. Jarvis Landry and Rashad Bateman both available. Should he grab either of those guys?
Well, it's a little different situation. If you're looking for next week, Landry's not going to help you because he's out a few weeks. So that's risky because Landry, you're looking just maybe toward the end of the season. Bateman is already pretty much back. Don't know if he'll really play this week, but he's back to being ready to play at least. So short-term Bateman will help you more, but if you're looking toward the fantasy playoffs, which you always should, because again, assuming you're going to make the playoffs, if you're not going to make the playoffs, none of this really matters. But like between the two rest of season, I would say I like Landry better, but if you need help in the short term, go with Bateman and see what happens there because Baltimore is actually passing the ball.
Yeah, I would go with Bateman anyways because, I mean, Landry was good when in the start of the season when Odell was out, but now Odell's back. He looks healthy. It's not his fault. It's Baker Mayfield's. That's the other thing. Baker Mayfield looks terrible. I would just take a chance on Bateman anyways because A, yeah, he might actually give you something next week if you need him, and B, maybe more potential upside down the road if he ends up blossoming into a good receiver with what Baltimore is doing there. So I would go Bateman either way. And we got another super chat from Charlie. Appreciate it. It's a tight end question. Max Williams, Dan Arnold, or CJ Uzama for rest of the season?
Okay. The rest of the season is the thing. This week, I would say Dan Arnold. So rest of the season, Uh, Look, Uzoma, I think we've always said he always looks like he'll be a thing and then he doesn't. He'll have a big game, he'll pop up once in a while. But look, they have three good receivers there already. He's going to be just so hard to rely on. So as tempting as it is, like you can't rely on him. So I'm going to scratch Uzoma off. I like Dan Arnold. I always have he's a converted receiver guy who is a natural pass catcher. The only reason they have him is to to catch the ball. And obviously Jacksonville traded for him for a reason. They need a tight end, but also they think he can fill a void there. And with DJ Chark out, he's going to fill that void. He already got work right away. So I do like Arnold. Max Williams has been getting targets. Is he really going to do that the rest of the season? That's the question. Is he really going to keep this up? Look, for 6 years, he hardly caught any passes ever. Now, all of a sudden, he's a pass catcher just because everybody is. I kind of feel like there's some regression in store here. So I'd rather go with a guy I think is going to play a more prominent role in the receiving game, even though we're talking about comparing the best offense in the league to one of the worst offenses in the league. I get that it's hard to swallow, but I'm going to go with a guy I think who's going to get more opportunity. So I'm going to say Arnold.
Yeah, I agree with Arnold. He's in that situation that you like to see. DJ Chark out for the season. Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault has only real competition unless you think Tavon Austin is going to be a thing. So that's a good situation. Whereas Max Williams, AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, like he's going to have a lot of ups and downs throughout the season. So I like Dan Arnold the rest of the season more too. And then Roberto, again, sorry, buddy. With this all off season, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, Kuoto. Let me know how badly I butchered that. I'm sorry. Giving us a super chat, appreciate it. Again, for the price of that super chat, you can be with us every Sunday morning, Roberto. We'd love to have you. He says, "Hey, my spicy dudes." Again, for those that didn't do mock drafts with us all off season, somebody would make a spicy pick. Jamal Williams or Murray, I assume Latavius Murray for his running back too.
It's close. Look, Jamal Williams is pretty much in a 50-50 share there with DeAndre Swift, assuming Swift is good to go. Latavius Murray is the lead back, but again, lead back in Baltimore just means you're number 2 behind Lamar Jackson. I'd go with Murray though, just because I think he's going to get more opportunity. It's pretty close though, because that's the thing. Murray's limited as a pass catcher. At least Williams does catch the ball. I don't know. This one's close, but I kind of slightly lean Murray.
Yeah, this is close. I mean, let's see. Saints have football team this week. We do have a good run defense. They do have a good their secondary and their pass rush is terrible. They do have a good run defense, and teams really aren't running the ball not that much. Detroit has Minnesota, who doesn't really have a good defense at all. In any way, I think I probably go slightly Jamal here. I know Murray might touch the ball more than him, but Jamal at least maybe gets like a couple catches and in a slightly better matchup. It is very close, but I think I do slightly lean Jamal. And then he says, what are your thoughts on Carson? Worth a trade? I mean, again, it always depends on what you're giving up and what you need, but I do think he's worth a trade if you can get him very, cheaply.
Yeah, I don't think he's a guy to avoid. We know that issue. People are going to freak out and worry. He might be a buy low opportunity. He's not out for the season or anything like that. It's not career threatening. It's an issue that the way we heard described pops up once in a while. It will flare up and it'll go away. You know what? He might be fine as of next week. So, don't worry too much.
Yeah, I won't worry too much. Let's see. Oh, we got another super chat, and then we'll probably have to jump into some rapid fire.
Yep.
Jeremy Littleford, thank you so much. All right, Winston or Wentz this week?
Oh man. I go with Winston just because I think Wentz is just so limited in what he's going to give you, and not a great matchup either. With going against Baltimore, I think that's not an ideal situation. So I don't like it, but I go with Winston because at least he could take some shots deep. Or we could see Taysom Hill come and take over. I don't know, but I'd still go with Winston.
Yeah, I go with Winston. I had him as a boom this week. I talked about it. The football team giving up the most plays of over 20 yards this year. I don't know what happened to that defense, but it's terrible. It might be one of those weeks, kind of like week 1, where He only throws for, let's say, like 150, 200 yards, but he has 3 or 4 touchdowns, so it's okay. And the football team. Wait, which reminds me, Latavius Murray's not a Saint anymore. That was terrible when I was talking about them going against football team.
Oh yeah.
Going against football team. But they are pretty good against the run. So could be a week where I'm not gonna say they shut down Alvin Kamara, but they slow him down a little bit. So I would shoot with the upside of Winston. All right, we're ready for rapid fire.
Let's do it. We got to do it. And again, guys, trying to get to all these questions. There's no way we can do it. It's not because we're ignoring you or we just don't like your username or whatever you think it is. We're just trying to get as many as we can on time. If you want to join in with us for the same amount of time, except with a much smaller group and get all your questions answered every week, just become a patron, guys. It's really not that much, $4.99 a month. Or if you want to jump up to a higher tier, we have all sorts of other perks too. Weekly rankings, rest of season rankings. Again, I've said this over and over again because it just makes too much sense. If you want your question answered for sure, and you want a lot more of our time, then we'll give it to you. All right. So just become a patron, support us. All right. But right now it's lightning round time. Let's do it.
All right. So lightning round, we're just going to answer, very little discussion about why. We're just going to give you the answer. So here we go. Joe Saviano, PPR League, pick 2, Amari Cooper, Corey Davis, Emmanuel Sanders.
I haven't heard Cooper in a while. Cooper seems fine. I think you've got to keep him above those other two. So I'll go Cooper, and like Emmanuel Sanders this week, but Corey Davis, right? That was the other choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that secondary, Atlanta secondary is just it's bad and it's decimated. So I'll still go with those two, Cooper and Davis.
Yeah, Davis and Sanders is so close for me. Cooper for sure.
Yeah.
I'll just say Davis so he doesn't have to make a decision, but they're so close for me this week. So close. I don't think you can go wrong with either. Let's see. Brandon. All right. CB, do I play James Robinson over Zeke? No. Why is everybody worried about the Zeke injury? No, he's fine. He's fine. Drop Gainwell, Mitchell, or Javonte Williams to pick up a tight end if Hawk sits? No. Don't. Please don't. Hopefully Hawk plays. All right. I'm just looking here. Okay. We had that one. Okay, here we go. Well, I know the answer to this, but Zachary James, Antonio Gibson, or Miles Sanders?
It's Gibson. Look, if Gibson's on the field, it's him.
And then B flat, Sewell, Sachs, Lance over Hurts?
No. The only answer, if it's blank over Hurts, the only time the answer would be yes is if it's Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and maybe Lamar Jackson.
Kyler Murray, definitely, yeah.
Kyler Murray.
Maybe even Lamar Jackson. He's outscored Lamar Jackson almost every week.
Oh, this is true.
All right, Blake Wilson, full PPR, Hines or Renfro?
Did you say Hines or Renfro?
Yes.
Hines is questionable. He's been banged up in practice this week. Look, he's been phased out of a lot of games. We haven't seen Hines like we have from last year. So I got to go with Renfro.
Yeah, I got to go with Renfro as well. All right, Christian Wimmer, pick 1 in PPR, Gibson, Damian Harris, or Jalen Waddle?
Pick 1. I know he said I like Waddle, but not over those guys. Gibson. I got to play Gibson.
Maybe I'm just too worried about. Maybe I'm too worried about that stress fracture. I'd probably go Waddle here. I like him in PPR this week, in that matchup. So maybe I'll regret it, but I am nervous about Gibson now. Let's see. Gregory Carrion, drop Ayuk for Beasley.
I mean, if you need him for this week, like if you're going to start Beasley, sure. If it's just for bench depth, then no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. All right. I mean, Miles Sanders or Damian Harris. Obviously, it's Damian Harris. We're not picking Miles Sanders.
No.
Bobby Smooth Gaming, pick 1. Amari Cooper, Antonio Brown, Marvin Jones.
Amari Cooper is still the lead guy there.
Yeah, I gotta be Amari Cooper. Gregory Carrion, Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins?
You know, that's interesting. I had that decision. There's one league, Chris, I think you're in that league, one of our in-game leagues. And I'm just playing the streaming quarterback game because I decided to wait and really wait on drafting a quarterback. And my starting quarterback was Trevor Lawrence. And so, like, even though Trevor Lawrence has a good matchup this week, I've been streaming and whatever. So I actually had the choice on waivers between Darnold and Cousins. Guess which one I picked for this week?
I'm hoping Cousins.
It was Cousins. It was Cousins. So there's your answer. I'm going with Cousins because of the matchup. And if Dalvin Cook is still limited, they're going to have to pass the ball in Detroit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it's got to be Cousins. He owns Detroit. Owns Detroit. All right, Eric Savit, Emmanuel Sanders or Zach Moss in the flex?
Easily Sanders.
Yes, definitely. Winters Gary, would you start Mike Williams or T Higgins?
Now, that is an interesting question because Mike Williams was smashing until last week. Look, it's a tough matchup this week with Cleveland. Cleveland does have a good defense. I know they gave up a ton of points the first 3 weeks, but finally looked better. I think Cleveland actually does have a good defense. So I think Mike Williams is still startable, but I'm not super high on him like, we all were a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I don't know. Am I too down on the Chargers this week based on that? I'm kind of leaning towards Higgins.
I still like Williams. I'm not gonna. Everybody has a bad game. I think they'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. I do like Higgins, especially with Alexander out, but he's competing with two other receivers. Mike Williams basically is competing with Keenan Allen. So I like Mike Williams a little more, but I think both will do great this week. So, all right,
Yeah,
Chuba Hubbard or Jacoby Myers in PPR?
Chuba Hubbard. Haven't asked. I'm surprised we haven't had any questions about him until now. So he's going to be the starting running back again. Didn't really do a whole lot with his chance last week. Do we think he'll do better? I don't know. Roll with him one more week and see what happens, I guess.
Over Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, because I think it's a Damian Harris week. I don't know that we'll see a ton of targets from Myers. And again, I know Myers has been getting a lot of balls, but he's still not a huge yardage guy. He doesn't catch touchdowns. We know that. So I'd take the chance on Hubbard still.
All right. Well, you get back-to-back Chuba Hubbard questions. Carlos Aguirre, Damian Williams, or Chuba Hubbard?
I think we're gonna differ here, but again, what I said with Damian Williams, I would go with with Chubbard. I would go with Chuba Hubbard because we know he'll have the opportunities. So go with Chuba.
I mean, I think Damian Williams gets my problem with Chuba last week was he didn't catch passes. He was supposed to catch all the passes, and he didn't.
Yeah, like Rodney Smith or something.
Yeah, so that's what my worry with Chuba is. Whereas we know, like Damian Williams, I mean, we've seen it back in Cleveland. He's probably a better pass catcher than he is as a runner, to be honest. So I like Damian Williams more this week. Let's see. Here we go. Ethan Norwood, Gesicki or Knox, full PPR?
I know Knox has been on fire, but at some point he's not going to score a touchdown. Gesicki's going to get the target share, especially Fuller out, Devontae Parker limited. I like Gesicki.
Yeah, he feels like almost a must start tight end to me right now with Brissett. He's like 8 or more targets in every game, I think. And so, yeah. Okay, real quick, we got a super chat. Pick 2, Nick Richard, thank you. Beasley, Mixon, Patterson. Pick 2. Well, not Mixon for me because we talked about this in the very beginning. Worried that he's going to be very limited. So not Mixon, right?
Yeah, you can't start Mixon. Even if he plays, the way they said is he'll play in some way or another. Is like, look, they're just propping up on the field. It's like Weekend at Bernie's. They're going to put him out there and I'm Joe Mixon. And he's not going to do anything. Like, so just because he plays doesn't mean anything. So you can't play Mixon. You have to play Patterson. So if we're picking 2, then yeah, I mean it's not Mixon.
Yeah, and then pick 1 between Galladay, Robbie Anderson, or Zach Moss.
Can't play Robbie Anderson. He's done nothing. Galladay's in a good spot, so go with Galladay because those other receivers still hurt.
Galladay might get a lot of Trayvon Diggs, though. We worried about that?
True. But, again, he's not shadowing. I think Galladay will still get enough targets that he'll be okay.
I kind of like Moss. Sadly, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's happened to me this year. I don't know.
Wow.
Recommending guys I don't normally like, but I think he has a great chance to score against that Chiefs defense, which is not really a defense. And then pick one more: Edmonds, Latavius Murray, or again Robbie Anderson.
I mean, I would say Edmonds, but you're gonna have to watch the injury report. He's game time decision.
Yeah, I think if he plays, you play him. Otherwise, I think I go with Murray.
Yep.
Okay. Sup guys, 4-0. Congrats. All right, let's see. We did that one. Whale to here. Should I trade Mixon for DJ Moore? If you're getting DJ Moore, 1,000% do that trade, please.
Yes.
Here we go. A defense question.
Finally, now we can end.
Miguel Cordovas. Raiders, Ravens, or Cardinals?
I'm not enamored with the Raiders defense. They're better in real life, but they're not getting still. I mean, they're getting some pressure as opposed to last year when they got absolutely zero pressure on quarterbacks, but they're not a team that's going to be sack happy, turnover happy. So I'm not going to start the Raiders over the Ravens probably ever. I would go with the Ravens just because, they can get to Carson Wentz, pick them off. So I like the Ravens.
Yeah, gotta like the Ravens this week for sure. All right. Raymond Rios has a tight end question. Conklin, Ertz, or Tunyon?
Tunyon, got to be Tunyon.
Yeah, sadly, gotta be Tunyon. Boy, that's a ragtag group of tight ends right there. We're on the GOAT. Damian Williams, Marvin Jones, or Marquise Brown. Pick 2 in full PPR.
Pick 2. These are all your boys. All your boys. All right, so I'm gonna pick Marquise Brown. You got to start him, right?
Yeah, definitely Marquise Brown. The close one for me is Damian Williams and Marvin Jones, but I think in PPR I gotta give Marvin Jones this slight edge.
There you go. All right, we agree. Marvin Jones.
All right, Rifty, CeeDee Lamb, Hollywood Brown, or CEH in PPR. Wow, what has happened to CeeDee Lamb? Actually, I know what's happened to CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys don't throw the ball anymore.
And we're just picking one of those?
I assume so, just one.
You can't bench CeeDee Lamb. I get it. I get it. But watch the panic video Chris put out last week. You're not panicking on CeeDee Lamb. If anything, you're trying to buy low from somebody else. Of course, you already have him. There's no worry about that. But look, the Cowboys just haven't been passing the ball. They have week 1, Dak threw it 58 times. They're probably worried about his arm falling off. So the last couple of weeks, they're like, let's just give it to our, Pro Bowl running back and his other backup, who's pretty good too. They haven't needed to pass the ball a lot. When they did, it's conservative. They're going to the tight ends. It's not going to be that way forever. Look, maybe CeeDee Lamb doesn't smash this week, but I think he'll be okay. Maybe Brown does have more upside. Maybe he does make a big play, but I can't bench CeeDee Lamb. I just can't.
Yeah, I agree. I can't bench him either. All right, CB, Super Chat, appreciate it. Would you trade Chris Godwin for Kareem Hunt?
Okay, again, we're assuming we're in a vacuum here, right? Because we don't know your running back situation, your receiver situation, and all that. I think Hunt is on the surface just more valuable because he's a running back you can count on week in, week out. All right, Godwin, I have his top 15 receiver. I know he was kind of down last week, but he'll be fine. He'll at the very least be a top 20 receiver. But Hunt, I think, is going to at the very least be a top 20 running back. Who's more valuable? It's the running back. So I would say I would take Hunt over Godwin as much as I love Godwin. But it always depends. If you want more explanation and, add some context, again, join the Discord and throw that trade question out there and put your roster and, we'll help you with some more ideas.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair trade. And it comes down to team. If you're desperate for a running back, get Hunt. If you're desperate for a wide receiver, you would get Godwin. And I don't think there's any clear winner. It's if the team needs a wide receiver, then it's a great trade for them. If they need a running back, great trade for them. So
yeah, value-wise, it's pretty fair. Look, guys, I know we're pretty much out of time. I was hoping we could just keep going until we at least get one kicker question. If somebody has a kicker question you want to throw out there, we'd love that. But look, if we didn't answer your question, I'll say one more time. We want to, but we do have wives and we do have lives and we do have other things to do to prepare for tomorrow. So you know what? We can't go on all night. If you have a question you want to get to, if you want to have your questions answered every Sunday morning, right up until game time with the latest injury information. All right. With everything going on right before kickoff, join our Patreon. It's not this big, heavy commitment. It's just supporting us for a few bucks a month. That is it. and then help us grow our community. We're trying to make the most inclusive, welcoming, supportive, and helpful fantasy community out there. So it's not just us, it's everybody all together trying to help each other win and have fun and talk about football. I mean, that's it. What's the point of playing fantasy football? We want to win. We want to have fun. All right. So we're going to try to help you do that.
Yeah, we did get one last super chat question that we have to answer. Tim Patrick, Elijah Mitchell, or McCall Hardman in the flex?
I can't trust Mitchell. We don't even know how many touches he's going to get. I will never start McCall Hardman. So, and there you go.
Yeah, I kind of like Tim Patrick, especially if Courtland Sutton is banged up. All right, guys, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Another, good luck everybody this week in week 5. Let's take home those W's again. Down below, free Discord channel. Get in there, ask questions all week. Also, the Patreon that Pierre just talked about. You can join us Sunday morning. Not to mention, you can ask questions there too if you want. Get your questions answered and support the channel. Help us grow. Appreciate you all for being here every Saturday. We'll see you again next Saturday and all through the week on the videos. Pierre, any parting words before we go?
Just again, any of those questions that you might need clarity on. I know a lot of those names mentioned we have talked about. If you haven't checked out our videos, we put one out pretty much every day. You want to learn about Josh Gordon, our thoughts, check out that video. Put that out there. Our booms, our busts, our must starts, things change throughout the week, which is why we do this. But again, we're always here to support you every day. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Let's do it again next week.
All right, guys. Have a great night and good